Do you think that the stuff with McConnell is just basically BS? Like, I mean, do you think it's possible? Look, it seems to me it's quite possible that these groups, they go and they make a show of Mitch McConnell, we're coming for you. And then the doors close. They come into the office and they're like, yeah, we're just going to do this probably for another. We just need to see what our fourth quarter fundraising is going to be like. And, sometime maybe in Q2, we'll shift to this. But in the meantime, we're going to do the old Mitch McConnell, we're coming for you. And Mitch just go, fine. Just, this is just, I just don't.
I think it depends who you're talking about. So I think the Koch brothers guys, I could see just making a big, because their big stink is, what they're angry about. Is that he? But I
guess in Alabama that was real. I mean, Mitch McConnell wanted Luther Strange. He did not want Roy Moore because Roy Moore is immediately going to come into the Senate and he's basically
do crazy stuff.
He's going to be the guy who makes Ted Cruz look like Pat Toomey, and Ted Cruz was the guy who made Pat Toomey look like Arlen Specter, and so on and so on.
Arlen Specter now looks like Bernie Sanders.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So and I guess I'm agreeing with that. Like the Koch brothers, I think, are just pissed, and they feel like they're going to go after McConnell because they're angry because their investment in themselves hasn't paid off quite as much because he didn't cut Obamacare and cut their taxes even further. But if you looked at it in an objective way, which I guess they can't, Mitch McConnell, not to say that I admire this, but Mitch McConnell pulled together 49 votes for one of the most absolute piece of crap pieces of legislation that's ever been introduced in the U.S. Senate. It was to destroy 1/6 of our economy, our healthcare system, without even so much as hearings or debate.
Right.
And he got 49 votes for that.
And
which is actually incredible.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
That's true. And it came down to the wire. And it really took, someone's massively oversized ego really to make the difference. I mean, you couldn't.
That's right. It took everything and that oversized ego. So the thing is I don't, in the end, that it's kind of incredible that he was able to do that.
Yes.
But so I don't know if the Kochs are going to stay on, and I feel like they're going to try to get rid of him, but they're a little bit more, the Koch guys are a little bit more long-term willing to ride it out because they're still getting the deregulation they want from Trump. They didn't want Trump in there and that kind of thing. The Mercer people, however, again, they're sort of Nazis.
Well,
and so that's different because you've seen Bannon do what he did in Alabama, and I fully expect, because with Bannon, it is emotional and it's personal. The Koch brothers, it's all about the bottom line.
Well, I don't even think I don't. My sense of Bannon is that it's not about personal and emotional. It's that it is untethered from the Republican project insofar as he doesn't care if Donald Trump has no political, completes any of the things on the agenda, because I think from Bannon's perspective, like he can ethnically cleanse the United States in his perspective from the executive can do this through ICE and through the Department of Justice. I mean, what's going on with immigrants in this country is really nothing short of terrorism, and.
Sure.
And they're just trying to scare the hell out of people and drive them out of the country that way. And I think from Bannon's perspective, it's like he doesn't care if it's a democratically controlled Congress. And maybe in some respects, it's even better because his whole agenda was, and he said it, was the deconstruction
of the Republican.
The deconstruction of the administrative state. And that's happening.
He's trying to burn down things. That's the difference. Whereas the Koch brothers have, and I do think it may not necessarily all be personal, although I think some of it is, but it is based on emotion. Because if what is sort of neo-Nazism and Klanism and that stuff is not based on overt emotion, hatred. So his broader project, he doesn't care what gets destroyed in the meantime. He doesn't care, as you said, about a Republican majority. He doesn't care about any of these things. Whereas the Koch brothers, if to hold off certain regulations from being repassed. I mean, if Donald Trump is gone, the Democrats win the presidency, and they take back the House and Senate and somehow and hold it, then they could re-regulate certain things or whatever. And the Koch brothers are sitting there with a chart, I'm sure. They're sitting there with, and they've got listed what they want, what specific return on their investment they want. So it's a different project than the one Bannon's involved in. So my guess is the Koch guys go after McConnell because they want somebody who's more effective, because nothing is good enough except for repealing Obamacare. But they maybe back off when they realize McConnell's the best they're going to get. The Bannon people, however, do not see backing off. I mean, the simplest example is they've got already a right-wing nutcase in John Barrasso in Wyoming, who's voted with Trump something like 96% of the time. But again, he doesn't fit that profile of Roy Moore and Michael Grimm. He hasn't publicly been an asshole. He's too quiet in his voting conservatism. He's not shaking up the system enough. So they've come out and mentioned now two different people, both of whom are familiar to all of us, who they would like to see take on Barrasso and replace him from Wyoming. One is Eric Prince, and the other one is Foster Friess.
Yep.
I mean, and if either of those two guys they would fulfill the project. There's Eric Prince, who likes to go and have his people commit war crimes, torture and murder Iraqis, and seems to never get held accountable for it. Among the many other things he's done wrong, he's also connected, by the way, to the Russia probe for some of his involvement meetings in the Seychelles. And then you've got Foster Friess, the guy who goes on TV, who's a religious right nut who goes on TV and says women should keep their knees together. Then we wouldn't have to worry about birth control and stuff like that. These are not what you'd call quiet conservatives like Barrasso. They're part of the overthrow of anything decent and in the public good. And
when I see Foster Friess say that, and even maybe what's his face, although it's more likely Eric Prince would jump in. I mean, his sister is now Secretary of Education.
That is true.
But when I see Foster Friess come out there and say, I've had a lot of people who've said to me, you should run. That sounds to me like a lot of consultants who go up to a billionaire and say, like, you are really, really good. I mean, you should really think about running. If not, I mean, that to me sounds totally like I can make a ton of money off of you in a short period of time.
Right. Well, and that's probably true, but I read, I'm trying to remember where it was, that the Bannon people had also reached out to him.
Very possibly. Why wouldn't you bring in another billionaire? It doesn't matter what, if you're a lunatic.
Well, and another religious nut like Roy Moore, a billionaire, who's going to come in and not going to respect any tradition at all, or any of the sort of ways things have been done, not really care about what laws are, because you now care more about what you see as your God's law than the Constitution. These are the types of people that they're trying
Foster
to recruit.
Friess was the primary financier for Rick Santorum's campaigns, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
So
that's another thing they have in common, because you have to remember, before going to Trump, the Mercer Empire was behind Ted Cruz.
All right. Yes, and that is why I think Bannon was out there. People are like, why are they not touching Ted Cruz? Bannon was in Cruz's camp before he was in Bush's camp. And
you mean Trump's?
Into Trump's, yes, exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. No, fine. But you're exactly right. All these guys, Foster Friess was always with Santorum. The other guys are with Santorum and then moved over to Trump. And, if Trump fails, as far as they see it, they still have a bright light, God help us all, in Ted Cruz for president. And if they can have Ted Cruz as president, along with Roy Moore and Foster Friess and some of these people in the Senate, I mean, imagine what becomes of the Senate. So, I mean, this is, again, they talk about burning it all down. That starts to burn it down. That's all that Bannon wants to do.
So let me ask you this. Crazy. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos